Right now it is time for the Berkshire Edge on air, the BerkshireEdge.com, the place to go to find out what's going on in the South County region, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we are joined by Marcy and David, and we say, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, and not just the South County region either.
No,
we cover the world. No, we also cover, often all our calendar has events in all through the Berkshires.
I know,
and in Connecticut as well, even.
Yes.
And even actually over in New York State.
Exactly, but you have to say it. This is what makes it complicated, which is why we just said
this is the Berkshires and beyond.
Yes,
right.
There you need the Berkshires and
because
beyond.
otherwise you have the same problem that we have.
Yeah, see,
I've got old things that say covering Litchfield, Berkshire, Dutchess, Columbia.
Right. Yes.
Gets confusing.
Well,
we cover things in Williamstown. We cover things in Pittsfield.
Pittsburgh.
We love Pittsburgh.
And occasionally Pittsburgh.
Something happens in Pittsburgh, you got to cover it.
Sorry, it's still early for us.
I know. Okay. Well, hey,
I'm reorienting myself.
We'll start off with the first story that you've sent along. The effort afoot to rename Monument Valley Regional Middle School after civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yes. Well, this is, there's a lot going on. We've talked about this before, but there's a lot going on about W.E.B. Du Bois here. I mean, we had something here on Saturday that David attended, but W.E.B. Du Bois was when he came back and spoke at his alma mater, Monument Mountain High School. He made a really stirring and stunning environmental speech in which he talked about the need to preserve the Housatonic River. So besides this effort to rename the schools, which David will tell us more about, we also have a river walk named after Du Bois and a ceremony this past Saturday reconsecrating and blessing the river in the name of W.E.B. Du Bois. So this goes on at the same time that there's a number of other efforts to revive W.E.B. Du Bois.
Well, the problem is that Du Bois has been vilified, even though he grew up in Great Barrington and became, he was one of the founders of the NAACP and was a really well-known scholar, and he eventually became quite radicalized because of the people not listening to him about the segregation and the way that African Americans were treated in America. And he ended his life by going and living overseas in Africa, and kind of throwing up his hands and saying America is never going to change. But in any case, he is one of the most, famous Great Barrington natives, born and bred here. Went to Harvard, went to the local schools, attended the local churches, but he whenever you bring up his name, because he was such a critic of America that people just get up there, refuse to honor him, really.
So I would.
There's been an effort to rename the elementary school after him, and that failed. And now there's another effort to perhaps rename what's called the Monument Valley Regional Middle School. So there's another effort to put his name on that and to honor him in this community. And in fact, it's a regional middle school, so it's honoring him in this region.
Actually, I think we told you once before that when these schools, the elementary school and the middle school were built about 10 years ago, maybe more.
No, 2005.
2005.
Mm-hmm.
there was a big effort then to name one of them after W.E.B. Du Bois, and it was rejected.
It was the elementary school.
The elementary school.
Yep.
So now there's an effort to rename the middle school. I don't know, why did they choose the middle school now?
Well, there is for one thing, there's a big there's a curricular issue too, because they study W.E.B. Du Bois in middle school, so that was the appropriate. They thought, well, we'll try that school, and there's even objections to they have a statue to be placed at the library downtown of Du Bois sitting on a bench reading a book, and people object to that too.
So I guess there won't be any Bernie Sanders statues in Great Barrington anytime soon.
Well, more likely than it might be more acceptable than.
I don't know. The word
How
social,
about
the word social democrat,
or Elizabeth Warren's Massachusetts?
Well, listen, she's very popular here.
Okay.
Yeah, she is.
All right. Yeah.
Do you think in 100?
The bluest of the blue in Massachusetts, right here in the Berkshires.
Well, you would think that the bluest of the blue would be able to handle W.E.B.
You
Du
would
Bois.
think, right?
Oh,
You would think.
Let's move on to the Great Barrington Selectmen planning to close a section of the access road to Lake Mansfield. This is a great time to do this.
What a great time! Well, it's going to be 80 degrees.
And you won't be able to get to the beach.
You won't be able to get to the beach. Well, you'll be able to get to the beach by a roundabout way, but the direct line from town the road is it goes right along the edge of the Lake Mansfield, which is a very popular spot for people to. There's a town beach there that's quite lovely. Actually, it's really a great little swim spot and picnic spot, and the people kayak in the lake and do that single paddleboard in it. And but the road, the access road, which has been a nuisance for quite a while, is kind of falling into just eroding, and they really need to shore up the base of this road, which means that they'll have to close it because it's very narrow. It's barely 2 lanes. So, the select board has decided that they're going to have to close it for a period of time while they repair it, and it just seems ironic that they would do so
in the summertime.
Summertime. Have you ever noticed how Columbus Avenue gets carved up just in time for the Thanksgiving Day parade?
Oh yeah.
I wonder if it's the same. It's the same
well,
protocol.
at least the Central Park West is still okay.
No, it messes.
You know what it is that repairs like this get in a queue. To get done because there are other issues. There are other repairs to be done, and the season is not all year long. They can't do this whenever the weather gets cold. So they do have a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
But it seems like the priorities. It would have been better for this to have been done, having been done with, say in March.
March or else late
or April,
or else late September, early October, when you're still not,
or that,
yeah,
right.
When you don't have to worry about mud and you don't have to worry about frozen ground yet, and there's and there's less attendance. I mean, there might be some warm days, but there's less attendance, of course. It's not summertime, so oh well. It's easy for me to say because I'm sitting here behind 4 walls.
All it takes is planning,
Hey, you've got a couple of stories coming out of Tanglewood. One about their music, the new center, and also the new sculpture that's going there.
That's right. The Tanglewood has built a Lind Center for
Lindy
Center for performing arts and education, and it's been dedicated, and there's a new sculpture, a handsome new sculpture of Serge Koussevitzky, founding directors of the Boston conductors of the Boston Symphony Orchestra that is prominently displayed there, and they dedicated this sculpture over in the last couple of days. So Tanglewood is becoming a year-round. This Lindy Center is going to make Tanglewood a year-round venue.
Yes, and we're very excited about it. I mean, the whole community is very excited about it because, the Berkshires have sort of closed down in the winter in past years, but now we have Tanglewood opening this gorgeous new center, and David and I are going to the opening on Friday morning. We've been invited. So I understand that the building is just sensational, that it's extremely flexible and very open. It's by the same architect that built Ozawa Hall, which is also a huge success. And so, they are planning to have the Tanglewood Learning Institute there, which will have lectures and all kinds of sessions. We don't know yet about music. I mean, it hasn't really been, we haven't heard yet, or at least I haven't heard, what they're going to do in terms of music. There'll be smaller concerts. Obviously, the BSO is not going to be here all winter, as they are all summer, but they are planning year-round programming, and that'll be terrific. And, at the same time, Jacob's Pillow now has year-round programming, not so much dance, but a lot of educational stuff. And I think, performance will be the next step in both of these, both at the Pillow and at the Lindy Center. So much more to do here in the winter than there has been in the past.
Well, I remember years ago that I attended a meeting of the heads of these various cultural institutions up and down the Berkshires, and one of the things that they were lamenting was that the season is only in the summer and in the warmer months, whereas they wish that it could be extended into the colder months. And with theater, you can do that, but with performance venues like Tanglewood and Jacob's Pillow, they can't. So this is a kind of fulfillment of a long-standing desire to extend the cultural activity here. And in fact, there was and there'll probably be revived an effort to include the performance of music and dance into the curriculum of the local schools, because these venues will be active during the school year. So that's an interesting possibility that may develop soon.
You also, like here at Sharon Playhouse, uses their Bach Gallery and stuff. They now have programs that they do throughout the year. But I think what's great about what's going on in Great Barrington, you have St. James Place, and then you've got the Flying Church. All these places, when they're open, will provide ample opportunity for lots of different programming to continue year-round.
It's happening already.
Yeah.
St. James Place, which is, as most people know, it was a church that
whose walls
collapsed. The walls, it was a gorgeous old Episcopalian church, beautifully built, but not well built, and the back wall started to collapse, and the congregation couldn't afford it anymore. So a very thoughtful couple bought it and turned it into...
Who were congregants, by the way.
Yeah. Turned it into a nonprofit organization, and now it's a performing center. They rebuilt it and they remodeled the inside, and it's now a performing arts center, and it's busy all winter. And with the Mahawi and St. James, and now these other things, it's going to be very exciting here in the winter.
Absolutely. I want to move on.
And we hope so, because we need more people here. We used to rely on skiing to bring people to the Berkshires in the winter. But skiing, because of the weather change, skiing is unpredictable.
Oh, you're mentioning that unmentionable?
That's
The
right.
unmentionable, the climate change.
I was up in Great Barrington a couple of weeks ago, and I was amazed at Powerhouse Square how great that looked. I mean, there's a lot of construction with sidewalks around it and everything like that, but it really does look good, and it looks amazing, as a matter of fact.
This is the new co-op with apartments, condos above it, and
what happened is that the co-op needed to grow, but they partnered with a developer who created this new space called Powerhouse Square, right next to their old the old co-op market, and so they've built a rather impressive and imposing building with condos on the upper floors, and the co-op is below, and it's really quite a lovely market. It's really sensational, actually. And it's right downtown, and it's within walking distance of the downtown region, which is the downtown neighborhood, which is just one of those goals of urban planners.
And what's so great about it?
People living and buying and eating and being entertained downtown.
It's a mixed use property.
For less sprawl.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's a mixed-use property, and even though it's big, it doesn't look big when you're coming into Great Barrington. Does it look a little big when you're coming up the road from behind it? Yeah, but it's still the way the architecture is done. It fits in with the town. It's not a sore thumb at all.
They tried to match the 19th century brick buildings.
Yep, they did. They did a good job. They did a real good job.
Yeah. It's a little imposing when you're driving down the street. There's this big building sort of looming on the side, but. Anyway, I think when it's finished and the condos are all inhabited, and there's going to be a second building of condos also. So, and there are rental apartments now, very nice rental apartments up at the top of Railroad Street. That building was renovated into shops and condos, and so the goal is to have a lot of people living downtown, close to the movies, close to the restaurants. And to create a much more lively downtown.
Yeah, kind of walkable downtown, and livable.
And eventually we'll have this new hotel also on Bridge Street, which the Mojitos are going to renovate. So there'll be that downtown also. This will take several years for the hotel to be done, but it's going to be sort of right across the street from the co-op and the Powerhouse Square. So that.
Well, I am waiting for a high-rise. I
think you'll have to wait a little while.
Not in our lifetime.
Hurry.
Hey, speaking about high-rise, a couple stories, one out of Sheffield and actually one out of Great Barrington, of course, in Sheffield.
Right, you're right.
The Close Encounters statue is gone, and then, of course, another cannabis shopping in the Flying Church. Right? That's
Flying
great.
Church. Right.
Yeah, can you believe this? I mean, we are. Yes, all these new residents that are going to be living over there by the co-op are also going to be able to get conveniently within walking distance. They'll be able to get their cannabis. It's still amazing. Every time I drive by Theory Wellness up there north of town, there is constantly a line of people trying to get in to get their cannabis. It's just astonishing.
But I feel like shouting at them every time because I did. Pete Nugent and I did an interview with the owners there, and I feel like shouting, "You can order ahead of time."
Yeah, but you still have to stand there to pick it up.
But they stand there for 20, 30 minutes, and
they do.
Do you have to stand there to pick it up?
Well, what?
How did you? Isn't there an area that's usually quite empty?
Well, not really. No. I mean, it's not quite empty. There's businesses around it, but
no. I'm talking about within Theory Wellness. You talked about the tour that you had, and that there's a place that doesn't have as many customers.
No.
No? Okay.
No, the
No,
only
it's
place,
all one-
once you're inside, there's not as many customers as waiting outside.
Okay.
No,
That
one
must have
building.
been what I was referring
But
to.
anyway, but the story that I want to go back to is removing the statue from in front of the old covered bridge,
Oh dear. Well,
and it wasn't even of W.E.B. Du Bois.
No, it was
No.
to commemorate a close encounter of the third kind.
right of that Sheffield resident Thomas Reed claims happened to him when he was a child, and he's been notoriously promoting this event over the years, and he had a monument built, a little sort of a little obelisk. Well, it wasn't that tall actually, but and it commemorated this event, and he had it situated next to the covered bridge in Sheffield. But the town was outraged that it was near town property, and they had it removed. Hopefully, it's probably in what's that warehouse in Arizona where they have
London Bridge.
Site
Oh, and,
no.
Area 50
Roswell, New Mexico.
Area
Roswell, New Mexico,
Area
where
51.
they
Yeah.
have all the other evidence of alien invasions. Hangar, whatever it's called.
51. Area 51 is what you're talking about.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's it. Area 51, right.
So-
Is that what it is? Yes.
Yeah. So now I want to get to the last story because we only have about 2 minutes left, and that is
Okay.
your interview with Jim Murphy.
Oh, right. That was it's very. Jim Murphy was the spokesperson for the Region 1 of the Environmental Protection Agency, and it was he had overseen, or he was the spokesman for the project that cleaned up the PCBs from or at least most of the PCBs from the river that were dumped there by General Electric during the 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s, and he was a really available. He was a really good spokesman for that whole project, and which was quite controversial when it started, and he retired. And he had a lot of, you can see from our interview, he has a lot of interesting things to say about where the EPA is going now, considering that it's under the Trump administration that is attempting to cut back on some of the EPA's oversight of contamination in the nation, like coal-fired plants and that sort of thing. So it's an interesting read. Jim is a really thoughtful guy. I'm sorry to see him go, actually, because he was always such a good resource for us in the press. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those stories and more.
Right.
And online.
So, the other thing that I just want to mention, coming next week, July 4th, at Ski Butternut, sorry, will be this giant crafts fair, that happens every year that your listeners may want to know about. It's a lot of fun, and this year they're having a concert by an interesting new group called Harpeth Rising, and this will be, I think, the 5th, 6th, and 7th at Ski Butternut. So fun to go to.
All right. And all this information and more, theberkshireedge.com is the location. Guys, we'll speak to you next week.
Okay. See ya.
Take care.
Have a good week.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. That is this week, the Berkshire Edge on air on Robin Hood Radio. Once again, theberkshireedge.com.